In the Know, a radio program talking to the newsmakers in Ogle, Lee, DeKalb counties and beyond, keeping you in the know. Here's your host, Charles Van Horn.
Good morning and happy Sunday. Joining us in studio, wrapping up the year, Rochelle Mayor John Barrows. Good morning.
Good morning.
Glad to have you here. Holidays right around the corner. Rochelle is all decked out for Christmas. Nice to see all the lights on the poles and all that fun stuff you guys do. The big Christmas tree lighting. Santa. You pulled off getting Santa to town. How about that?
And with no snow.
Yeah.
That was a tough pull.
Yeah. Literally with a sleigh with no snow. So it is the end of the year. One more in the books for Rochelle. I think it was a fairly positive year for the city. It was one of maybe not so much of major changes, but definitely laying the groundwork for major changes over the next couple of years. So let's start off talking about, and we've talked about this a number of times, the downtown of Rochelle, keeping stores in those locations, new businesses opening up. I think you guys are on the plus side this year. Yes. For businesses staying in town.
Yeah, and one of our projects that I'm very proud of is that our community development applied for and received the $1.1 million grant for the rebuild downtown, and that was through a state grant. So, next spring you're going to see some construction starting in the 400 block of Main Street. We're going to be building a band shell and public restrooms directly across the street from the fire station. So that's going to be an event area that, my hope is as we progress through that maybe that could be used for some local musicians to come in on a Wednesday night, Thursday night, whatever, for an hour or two, just to draw people down there and have this be kind of a gathering spot. When the weather's nice, people like to get out and just kind of hang out and talk. And, we saw that during the pandemic when we opened some things up to blocking off streets and gave people a gathering spot. And this is going to be an amazing project. It's going to be a very long project. It starts probably in April or May. I know they moved the Lincoln Highway Heritage Festival out to the park because we're not going to be done construction by the time the Heritage Festival has their event. And, we certainly didn't want this to block that event. I mean, It's been a great event. The committee works exceptionally hard on that. So, yeah.
And of course, the band shell downtown will be incorporated in all sorts of, I assume, community events once it's completed.
Absolutely. And we always have, the Little Miss Peanut. When they have the Lincoln Highway Heritage Festival and the Little Miss Peanut contest, they always have to bring in a semi-truck for a stage. And it's much more difficult to get up on a semi-truck than it is walk up the steps onto a stage. So this is going to be an awesome thing for the downtown area. And honestly, that's part of the thing when you have the small businesses. We got to get more people down there.
Yeah, and as a performance space, again, not only for music, but certainly other things, even school activities or whatnot. There's all sorts of stuff that can be done there. Here's a big question. Are you being prompted to build this band shell by the manufacturers of lawn chairs? Did they get in your ear saying, we need to sell more lawn chairs?
No, it's, one of the things we're going to have is in the structure that's going to be built, there's a storage room, and we're going to have chairs and tables on rollers that we can bring out for events. It's just going to be a great thing. I really think it's going to be awesome for the downtown area and for the whole community. If we get local talent that comes in and plays, or, all kinds of ideas have been kicked around about what we'll be using it. And I think it'll fall in place, and I think more people will use it than we even imagine.
And since we are talking about the year started off with heavy snowfall and the collapse of the gazebo in that space.
I think it was a sign.
It sort of was a thing. The wooden gazebo had been there for a number of years, and we got like 3 inches or 4 inches of snow. I was out there that night, and it just collapsed and gave way. And thank goodness nobody was around it. You didn't have something going on that day. But yeah, maybe it was a sign that it's time to wipe the slate clean and put a new space in there.
The other thing that we have going on with that downtown area is, along with this band shell and public restrooms, we're going to be redoing some parking lots. One of the things that we talked about early on was the parking for downtown businesses. So when we decided to proceed with this ban shell in public restrooms, we knew that we were going to lose 10 or 15 parking spots across from the fire station. So we just recently came to an agreement to purchase a house directly to the east of the fire station. That will come down in the spring, and that will be a new city parking lot for the firemen, as well as reconstructing some of the other lots. We just got the building down this year where the old Savings and Loan and the old former Zimmer's Grill area was. So we just got that down. So we'll be working on those parking lots at the same time. So there's going to be a lot of moving parts.
And that house next door to the fire station, the fire department's going to play with that house a little bit, aren't they?
I think they're going to have a little practice before we actually take it down. That's correct.
Firefighters love to do that. I have to say, you give a firefighter an old junk car or an abandoned house, and oh boy, they have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Breaking down doors and searching around and doing all the training exercises that are so important.
One thing I've always said is we can never, whether you're talking police or fire, either one, we can never train too much. You hope for the best and prepare for the worst. So, it's every chance we have that they can utilize for some type of training, whether it's search and rescue or recovery or whatever. And, of course, now we've got this past year, they finished up on the first 2 phases of the fire training facility down on South Main. We're very happy about that. One of the other things that happened this year that I'm pretty proud of for our entire city is that we received the Distinguished Budget Award again. That's 6 years in a row that we've received that. So Chris Cardot in finance and her whole staff, they do a great job. It involves transparency, it involves a balanced budget. So to receive that award 6 years in a row, and actually the first year we received it was the first year that we had ever applied for it.
Yeah.
And to get it the first year you apply for it is pretty rare. And so that says a lot for our staff and how they do the best that they can to, be physically responsible and transparent and provide the paper. It's a huge report that you have to send in to apply for this. And they did a great job.
And let's backtrack a bit about the fire department. Again, big restructuring of the fire department in regards to their command structure and how the positions are laid out.
Yeah, and we added firefighters on. We added those on here this year as well. We increased the size of each shift, and we added the. It'll have lieutenant captain on each shift. So the great thing is then you have someone in command on each shift that can take charge of, you have one person taking charge of the outside of a scene, and this way they'll have someone inside in charge so that, it's a safety factor is what it really comes down to.
And talking about other city employees, the police department, not as many sort of command structure changes there, but most importantly, the potential for getting their workspaces in that building cleaned up and brought up to modern day standards.
Yeah. Some of the remodeling that we did in the police department that was 1970s for sure. And we did some remodeling at the fire station. We did some in the police department with the locker rooms in the shower area. So you've got to provide your staff a good work zone and a place that they're happy to come to and just keeping up with today's codes as well.
Let's shift gears once again. Let's talk about all the different feel-good moments that happened this year in Rochelle, especially when it comes to giving. It seems like between sort of infrastructure type things, when you guys do facade grants and some sort of community investment projects, to just general charity events, it seems like every 3 or 4 days, somebody is holding up a giant check and posting it to social media.
Well, one of the things that I'm going to say about that is, not that it all comes from our utilities budget at all. It certainly doesn't. But some of the things that we've been able to do is increase and expand our those less fortunate in the lower income for assistance with their utility bills, things like that do come out of the utilities. The I've said it before, that Rochelle is the most caring, sharing, and giving community I've ever seen. Every time we have an event for Change for a Change or any of the year-long commitments for the foundation, our staff and our employees and everyone is just so giving. Just can't say enough good about it. And yeah, we do have a lot of those programs, and those programs too are geared towards hoping to have a little help in the downtown area. A lot of these businesses, we don't think about it a lot, but I happen to think about it quite a bit. But coming off of the pandemic, a lot of these businesses are really still recovering. So, we can change the facades and we can make some improvements. It helps out everybody, and our downtown's looking great. Hats off to our utilities folks and street department folks for the decorations they put up. We've always talked about with another large electrical company, unnamed, if we had them as our provider, you wouldn't have their workers out putting up Christmas decorations. So we have a lot of benefits here locally.
Speaking of local, let's talk about things for the people. Now, the city works in conjunction with various other entities, helping to encourage improvements in the area. Things outside of your scope, but still great things that happened in Rochelle over the last year. Tilton School getting a refresh. The Park District has done a ton of work in a bunch of different places. It's got to be nice to see that not only the city departments and the city government is growing, but other entities are also growing and making things better for the people that live and work here.
Absolutely. We've worked very closely with the schools. Back when we talked about workforce training, Kishwaukee College and the Rochelle Township High School, Jason Harper and all of his staff have been great to work with. We have the Park District has partnered with us, obviously, in the past on the golf course. We just had a meeting with a committee that I formed about 2 months ago. It's called the Destination Committee. That committee is made up of 5 citizens at large from the community, and myself and Jenny Thompson, and from the city. And our purpose is we want to come up with some things that we can draw people to our community, make Rochelle a destination. And we've talked several things within that committee, things that we could perhaps partner up on between the Park District and the city to create some activities. We're going to install a pickleball court this coming year down by Luna. They have some tennis courts that were not being used, so we're going to create a whole new pickleball court area. That's going to be a great thing for the local people and beyond. There's groups from Rockford and all over that want to be in these leagues for pickleball. And so that's another thing. You bring the people here and, we want to show them what a great community we have, and hopefully those folks will want to live here.
Speaking of living here, we now need to touch on the home building initiative that is rolling ever slowly. Obviously, it's not the kind of thing that can happen overnight. Just to make it very brief, you've helped craft a plan that will give significant rebates and benefits to somebody looking to build a new home and live in it in Rochelle. Probably not going to see a lot of action on it in the next year, but 2026, you got high hopes.
I hope that's the fact. We met with the county board this past week and made a presentation to the county board to bring them on board with us. Our city council in Rochelle unanimously passed the program. What it does is it gives a 5-year, 100% rebate for the city's portion at this point. And then when the county comes on, which I'm optimistic that they will join us with this, we can create perhaps up to $1,200-$1,500 a year credit back to the homeowner. We talk about, and as I talked to the county board this past week, is, you talk about economic development, the housing and the workforce, and there's many pieces of the puzzle in economic development because you reach a point where you're saturated, you have nowhere for people to live, therefore you have not a lot of people moving in, so your workforce is it's damaged because you don't have an expansion of your workforce. So all these pieces of the puzzle need to come together to make it happen. So I'm very optimistic that, it may not be the best plan in the world to make it happen quick, as you say, but I think it's important we do something. We're also investigating some other areas of that would involve down the road, perhaps residential TIF districts that we could help. One of the problems that we've talked about many, many times is the cost of infrastructure for someone to come into a subdivision. We've seen it happen in our area. Subdivisions get built, the developer goes broke because there was so much invested, and hopefully we can make that change.
Mayor John Barrows, thank you for joining us. Looking forward to an exciting 2025. And I guess parting thought for the city of Rochelle, everything is getting great. Everything is getting better. But the potholes on 251 are the state of Illinois' problem, right?
They are. If you want to reach out to the governor, he can give you an update. But wish everybody a very happy and safe holidays in our community.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you for listening to this week's In the Know. The program returns next week at this time with another great conversation with someone from your community.